new EU budget was recently proposed, and there are some considerable changes that we can observe from a V4 or from a Central European perspective. So let's take a closer look at these. So the question is, how did the coronavirus pandemic force the EU to reallocate certain parts of its budget for the upcoming years, and how this will affect the V4 bloc as a whole? First, let's take a closer look at the big picture, and then we'll go into detail with the needs and the interest of each individual member state.
So far, it was mostly the funds flowing from the rich towards the poor. Now the thinking goes more towards helping the economies mostly affected by the coronavirus crisis.
An additional 750 billion euros will go to the countries and regions most affected by the virus.
The V4 countries averted demands of frugal states to limit the overall amount going to the cohesion policy. Moreover, they will achieve that the cohesion policy will be more flexible. It's their long-term demand, and now it becomes successful. They will get more time to complete unfinished project from the current multi-annual financial framework, and also newly the funds from the cohesion policy will be possible to channel them much more also into the healthcare system, reconstruction of hospitals, purchase of medical equipment.
Obviously, the real test will come later, whether the major states would initiate to link the payments of the cohesion funds to a rule of law conditionality. Budapest and Warsaw will criticize that for sure, but the real test whether Bratislava and Prague will support them. Obviously, in Bratislava, the new government would like to establish great connections with Budapest and Warsaw. But the minority members of this government are more critical about these relationships. Therefore, it can turn into a very important internal question within the ruling coalition. And then the support of the Batovic government will be less obvious.
What about Slovakia, Poland, and the Czech Republic? I mean, Prague is being especially negatively affected by the new budget. So what is the position of the government there?
Slovakia, for example, will receive 8 billion, perhaps 8 billion euros, and it will be quite a challenge for Slovakia to push forward its economy and to invest in modern technologies to plan to next generations and to the coming decades.
Polish economy is dealing comparatively well. That's why Poland is afraid that they will not get enough of the funding, or not as much as they expected. That's why their insistence on keeping the old philosophy in place and maybe thinking about the helping the affected ones by the COVID crisis in the second place. Also, take into consideration Polish reliance on coal, it's not surprising they also petition for extending the programs not to be limited to green and innovative branches of economy.
First sight, the Czech Republic is the only country from the V4 region whose netto position in the EU Recovery Fund should be around minus 500 million euro, while other V4 countries should benefit much more from the EU Recovery Fund. Here we have to argue that the pure accounting operation is not fair because the Czech Republic would anyway benefit from increased economic recovery in Europe, from increased GDP of our main trading partners, as exported of other member states of the European Union would accelerate also the Czech